Arguably, the villains in games are more popular than the actual heroes themselves. I've got my personal favourites along with everyone through all the games I've played over the years. Some villains just stick out to me, and I wanted to do this video kind of talking about a few of my favourite villains and why I like them so much. It's not really a top 10 or anything, there isn't even 10 there that I've picked. It's just a small selection of my favourite villains. So I will warn you now, there are going to be spoilers in this video, and especially one of them. One is going to be a very, very major spoiler, but I'll warn you about that when I get to it. So to first kick it off straight away is probably my most classic childhood villain that I've grown up with all my gaming life, and that is Dr. Robotnik, or Eggman as he's now known. He'll always be Robotnik to me. I love the way he's the typical kind of mad scientist, and it's that typical story really where he's hell-bent on destroying this one hero, but he can never do it. It's similar to Mario and Bowser, but I was always a Sonic and Robotnik person as opposed to a Mario and Bowser person. I think the kind of relationship between Sonic and Robotnik is, even though you didn't really get dialogue in the classic Mega Drive games, and over the years it has developed into more story-based dialogue, you could sense that kind of anger from Robotnik and everything, from the vast amount of weapons and everything he used to use in those classic games to try and defeat this one little hedgehog on the end of Sonic 3, where he's made the giant death egg, which is like its own planet, and he's still foiled by Sonic the Hedgehog, which is really cool. And I've always enjoyed their kind of relationship, especially Robotnik. Like I said, he's like this mad scientist, and he's always creating all these inventions and everything to try and stop Sonic. And I think the reason he's one of my favourites is because, like I said, I grew up playing Sonic, and I've played all the games, even into the current generation, as we've got him as Eggman nowadays as well. So he's still the same sort of guy, which was really cool, and that's what I like. I kind of like the relationship between Sonic and Robotnik. So that was Robotnik. The next one I picked was a recent villain on this current generation, and that is Vaas from Far Cry 3. Now, Vaas is a very complex character, and he's not your typical supervillain at all. Think of him like the Joker on The Dark Knight. He's very normal. He's just this kind of normal guy, really skinny. He's got nothing special about him, but he's really kind of intimidating. He's really scary. He's really kind of crazy and everything like that. And it's not necessarily the things he does in the game which makes him one of my favourite villains. I think it's the portrayal of him by the actor who played him. He really did well on the character of Vaas. It was a really good performance. It was really menacing, really scary, and it's probably the most kind of into a villain I've ever been watching cutscenes in a game and everything. Like, it's hard to explain, but I've really been into the cutscenes while I was watching him. I couldn't get enough of him, and sadly as well, I know I made spoilers, like I said. He dies quite early on in the game, and he's not the overall villain of the game. I can't remember the name of the overall villain of Far Cry 3, but that goes to show actually that the main villain that I picked for my favourite out of Far Cry 3 wasn't even the main villain, and Vaas turns out to be like the sort of henchman of the main villain, so he's the kind of the main assistant. But he's really good. Like I said, he's very menacing, and it's very kind of fun to watch his craziness on the screen and everything, and that's why I loved Vaas. Next up is the Joker from the Arkham games, and I know that the Joker isn't really a video game villain because he's a comic book villain, but I think the portrayal in the Arkham games deserves to be on there because Mark Hamill as the Joker is fantastic. Of course, he's got the perfect voice for it, and the way they did the way they did the Joker in these games was perfect as well. And I think it was a great choice to bring him back for Arkham City as well as Arkham Asylum, of course, because the Joker is such a popular villain. They did him really well. They're kind of really skinny, really really manipulative and scary, but at the same time he's really funny as well, and that's what the Joker needs to be. He doesn't need to be funny because that's what he is. That's the main kind of selling point as his villainous role. So that's why I like the Joker, and I think it was a great moment at the end of Arkham City when you see Batman carrying the Joker's body out of the Arkham City enclosure into the Gotham streets. and that really kind of summed up. I don't know why that moment sticks in my head, because obviously it's the downfall of the Joker, but I really liked that moment, and I really liked the moments before as well, where the Joker kind of refuses to die, and he's been hidden as Clayface as well. He was kind of disguised as Clayface and everything. He does all these things to try and disguise himself and get one over Batman, but of course, like Batman stories always go, Batman always ends up on top. But I've always liked the Joker. It's always been my favourite comic book villain. I've said that all through my life and everything, and I really am happy with the way they portrayed him in the Arkham game. So I'm looking forward to Arkham Origins as well, to seeing how they portray him in that. It's going to be really good. Next up is, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, I can't remember. It's the Skyward Sword enemy of Zelda Skyward Sword. Is it Girahim or something like that? I can't remember how to pronounce his name, but I thought he was a brilliant enemy. I thought the way they, again, is really kind of crazy and menacing, but they did it really well, because obviously there's no dialogue in the Zelda games, and to still portray that sort of character, similar to the Joker, similar to Vast, where there's nothing really kind of that menacing about the character himself. He's not big or scary or anything. He's just a plain looking person. Well, in the Zelda franchise anyway, he looks plain. He's just a plain looking guy who just has these mannerisms and everything. The way Girahim just stands there kind of rocking about side to side, and he kind of licks his lips and everything, and it's things like that we've never seen in a Zelda game before, because obviously Zelda's been quite light-hearted, and to see things like that, it was really menacing, and that's why he sticks out as one of my favourite villains of all time. And I thought he was the perfect kind of villain to go toe to toe with Link in that game, and it made me want to play the game more, to see more of this Girahim. I don't know how I'm saying his name, I can't even remember how to say it anymore, but yeah, he was an awesome villain, and definitely up there as one of the best in my opinion. Next up is staying on the Zelda track, and that is classic Ganondorf / Ganon. Of course it needed to be in there, and of course I think the reason I like Ganon and Ganondorf is it's because it's not your typical villain where Link has kind of foiled one of his plans and then he's hell-bent on getting Link, or he's just literally trying to kill Link for no reason. There's actually a good deep storyline between Ganondorf and Link's rivalry, and it goes back to, you find out more in Skyward Sword, when Demise puts the curse on Link that Ganondorf is going to be the figure of hatred in Link's life and Link's ancestors' life, hence why in all the Zelda games Ganon and Ganondorf is the main enemy for Link. And I think that was really good how they explained that, because obviously there was loads of different Zelda games and it was always Ganondorf the main enemy, but they were always different in different timelines and everything like that. So I thought that was a great way they explained that. And like I said, it's not your typical he doesn't just want to kill Link, it's always there. Every game he's always there, even more powerful, even more menacing. That's what I like, and because it's a Nintendo game, it's a very kind of deep rivalry, and that's why I like that. He's scary to look at, especially when he's as Ganon, where he's much more fierce and looking like a pig on the Ocarina of Time and everything like that. And that's why I love Ganondorf. He's your typical kind of very intimidating, dark, proper good villain, a proper menacing villain, and that's what I like. Next up as well is one that I've recently stumbled across, and that is Zeus on God of War. Now, when I first played God of War 1, I thought Zeus was a good guy, and then obviously he turns out to be the main sort of enemy in the God of War franchise the more you play it. Obviously he's hell-bent on destroying Kratos, who's taken down all the gods and everything like that. Obviously Kratos is on the war with the gods after everything that happened with his wife and child, and I think it's the way they portray Zeus is really good. Zeus is meant to be a powerful king of the gods, and they really portray that in the games. He's huge, he's menacing, he's got big beastie powers and everything like that, and it's nothing compared to like Vast and the Joker, where it's a really menacing, deep character, it's like story-driven character. Zeus is just a plain-up beast, where he's just chucking everything he's got at Kratos, and that's what I like. A just plain-up monster to try and take down, and that feeling when you take him down is amazing. So yeah, that's why I like Zeus. And finally, Warning here, major spoilers for Heavy Rain. If you haven't played Heavy Rain, just switch off the video now. This is my last one. So if you haven't played the Heavy Rain, 100% you need to switch off now, because this will spoil the whole game for you, and it will wind you up if you hear this spoiler. So yeah, that is your warning. 2 seconds, go. Right, this is the major spoiler. The major, one of my most favourite enemies of all time is definitely Scott Shelby, the origami killer in Heavy Rain. Now, the reason I've picked this as one of my favourites of all time, compared with all those legends like Robotnik, Joker, everything like that, is because of the unpredictability and how unexpected it was to find out that Scott Shelby was in fact the origami killer. And now that is a moment in gaming that I will always remember. It's been quite a few years since I've played Heavy Rain, but I still vividly remember those cutscenes where you find out that moment. And there are some moments in that game where you think back and think how weird it was when you were playing as Scott Shelby, not knowing that he was the actual killer. You think back to these moments and then you think how weird it was. Like, obviously he was killing all the children, and I can't remember the name of the girl that he takes around with him. Her son died, and then he kind of takes her under his wing. And then he kisses her, so he's kissing the mother of the child that he's just murdered. There's a real kind of twisted plot to that, and that's what I like. You don't see that much in video games, and I really like what they did with that. Like David Cage, the director of Heavy Rain, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with Beyond Two Souls as well, because Heavy Rain is without a doubt the deepest storyline I've ever played in a video game, and Scott Shelby is one of the most twisted, really, like, that's the thing about it, he's not scary. You really like him as a character up until the moment you think he's just a nice, gentle police guy. He's really kind to people, he's really helpful and everything like that. He's quite big, he's got asthma problems, so you feel sorry for him as the game goes on. And then you learn the dark storyline of how he watched his brother die, and then he had like an abusive father and everything like that. So it turns out that he kills children to see how their fathers would react, to see what lengths their fathers would go to get their children back. And it's really a really twisted mind, and that's what I really like in video game villains. So that is why Scott Shelby is without a doubt one of the best villains I've played at, watched in a video game. So yeah, that is my list of my favourite video game villains. Like I said, I hope you didn't get spoiled by Heavy Rain. If you're still watching this, I'm so sorry if you've just heard that, but I did warn you. But anyway, that is my list. Leave your list down below if you've got any of your favourite villains, and if you agree with any of mine. So yeah, that's about it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next one.